Welcome my fellow primates to another time-lapse video, another figure time-lapse video by Knut Andre Vikshåland from Norway. You can see here I actually lost some of the first sketching process video, and that's a sad fact. I couldn't find it anywhere. I maybe overwritten or something. But as you see, as I usually do, I start on canvas that it is covered with gesso, 2 layers actually on top of the original layer with gesso, just to even it out and to control the textures. I think it's very important to get rid of the canvas texture, because it can interfere with the light and the brushwork that I actually add in after when I start painting. And over over that gesso I put a wash with raw umber from Winsor Newton, usually because it has a very nice greenish or grayish tone to it. It's not much color in it, and I just start painting on top of that. And as you can see here, I start with the light areas. And in this painting, there is not that much color actually. Well, the photograph that I use, as you can see there, is taken by my Pentax AZ67 camera with tungsten Diaz film. And sadly, I can't really get more on that film because it's not made anymore. But what I also do is that I have an Epson A2 printer where I actually print out these huge prints that I use. And I usually use semi-gloss photo paper, and I also, of course, work with the lighting in the photographs and stuff like that before I print them out to get the right tones and stuff. So it's a process in its own. Maybe I would make a video sometimes just about how that process is done. I do not develop the film myself, of course, because that is to develop more color film is really difficult. I actually are wondering about starting to use my art photos and develop black and white photos of them and use my photographs as art within itself. But that will come later in my life. Right now I'm just struggling with becoming a better painter. As you can see here, as I build this painting, I just fill in everywhere, and I just start all over the place and just get the main motif in approximately. I'm not a photorealist, so it is kind of a little bit sketchy, a little bit I never actually go all the way into photorealism. People say, oh, your paintings look like photographs, but yeah, on a distance, if you photograph them and you put them out on Instagram or you have them on your phone and you can't focus into the brushwork, of course they look like photographs because they're also painted from photograph. I don't use any projector, so there's also always quite a big difference between the original photo and the finished artwork. Thus, I try to start out, as you see here, with I hang up the photo on that to the left, and I look at it kind of, so I get this immediate communication between me and the painting, or the photo and the painting. Almost like it's almost kind of, Vermeer used to clear obscure, they say, and he kind of looked through the box to see if it was perfect or not. I think hanging up like this is kind of somewhat the same process, because you get this direct, the brain is picking up information, transform it into paint, and that the distance from these things has to be as small as possible. That is also why I always have the palette in my hand. I have the palette in my hand, and I almost always have the same the same rhythm as on a piano. You have the piano keyboard on the same place. You don't move it around randomly and hope that the brain is gonna be able to get into flow. Because if I put the colors in different places all the time, it would be like trying to find the tones or finding the colors. Because the brain, of course, creates this pattern in your head, and I try to make the distance between the objects I use to paint, the brush, the palette, the photo, and the canvas, as close to one another as possible in this dance, that the communication dance that is happening in my brain. And of course, as you do these things, you evolve more brain cells and more synapses connects, and you slowly get better. You know, everybody has to start somewhere, and usually everybody starts with doing the same problem, so doing the same mistakes. There is no difference in I have never seen anyone painting like Rembrandt the first time. That is just bullshit. It doesn't happen. So this thing about talent is nonsense. You can't say that a person had talent just because he had become a good painter. I mean, any human being who practices painting or anything else over time will become pretty good. Here you can actually see the palette, how it looks when I do it. And in the main file, in the main video, which is 4.5 hours long, you can actually see me do a clip where I explain how I use the palette and how I think when I use the colors. Yeah, and I just mold and mold and mold and mold and mold. And as I say, my paintings, it comes from all my mistakes. That is what built my paintings, all my mistakes. I do not have a recipe in my head. Of course I have a recipe, but it's not that conscious. I just pick up the information and I try to repeat the information that I see on the canvas. Maybe that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Of course it makes sense to me. And here you can see again, I'm going a little bit deeper into detail. Adding more, then probably removing, and add more, removing again. And that is how I build it. I just find new information all the time. I try to move the things around, move them around, until I come the closest I can to the... Okay, there's no really limit to how close I can actually come in any sense, really. Because if I kept on painting on the same painting for maybe a year, maybe I would actually go into the realm of super realism, because I would get closer and closer and closer. It wouldn't be perfect because I don't use a projector, so it would be off a little bit because some of the mistakes are too big to be fixed. In that case you have to fix the whole thing, and yeah. So here you can see how I just keep on building with the different colors. It's very much in the blue, and I use the yellows, and I use kraplak a lot, or the alizarin a lot, and of my palette, the more I use the most is probably in the light areas, like in the cadmium range or in the primary color range. When you get down to the shadows and stuff, there's a lot of blue. There are a little bit of black. There is some earthy colors like raw umber, Van Dyke brown. Van Dyke brown is a very important color to me, and of course burnt umber and raw umber, as I said. And I also use raw sienna and burnt sienna. And cobalt blue, French ultramarine, Prussian blue, cadmium red, cadmium yellow lemon, and some other color. But you can see that in the segment in the original file where I actually show you my palette. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't talk too much about painting in this video, but I gave you a general idea how I think and how I work with my paintings. Here you can see some of the brushwork and the details. And with this, I hope you go to my Patreon and sign up for $1 or 15 or 5 or whatever if you want to support my work. And I will engage with you and try to make your journey to becoming a painter easier if you feel you need my help. Just ask. You can also add me on Facebook. There's a link in the description if you want me to teach you how to paint. So with this, I hope to see you in the next video. Hope a thumbs up, and yeah, stay cool, keep living.